ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Yes, so we are starting with paragraph 3 today. Yeah. Would someone like to read?
Prabhuji, I think third paragraph is completed.
We completed three
First,
paragraphs.
fourth one.
Yeah, we can.
Fourth.
Should we read the verse every time we do it, or should we directly continue with the paragraph rule?
Yeah, we can continue. There will be many paragraphs like this.
Okay, this is the fourth paragraph.
Yeah. Yes, fourth paragraph in the Vedic literatures.
In the Vedic literatures, it is said that the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, is the chief amongst all living personalities, all living beings, beginning from the first created being, Brahma, down to the smallest ant, are individual living beings. And above Brahma, there are even other living beings with individual capacities. And the personality of Godhead is also a similar living being. And he is an individual, as are the other living beings. But the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Living Being has the greatest intelligence, and he possesses supermost inconceivable energies of all different varieties. If a man's brain can produce a space satellite, one can very easily imagine how brains higher than man can produce similarly wonderful things which are far superior. The reasonable person will easily accept this argument, but there are stubborn atheists who would never agree. Srila Vyasdev, however, at once accepts the supreme intelligence as the Parameshwara. He offers his respectful obeisances on to the supreme intelligence addressed as the Para or the Parameshwara or the supreme personality of Godhead. And that Param Ishwara is Sri Krishna as admitted in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures delivered by Sri Vyasdev and specifically in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that there is no other Paratattva, Samam Bonam, than himself. Therefore, Sri Vyasdev at once worships the Paratattva, Sri Krishna, whose transcendental activities are described in the 10th canto.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Anand.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. So, see, Krishna is explaining this in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 12. Krishna says, Natvevaham jatu nasam, natvam neme janadhipa, na chaiva na bhavishyama, sarve vayam atah param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna has explained this in the Bhagavad Gita. Also, you know, now we are seeing that we're talking about the absolute truth, the supreme absolute truth. See, everything has a cause. We can see that in this world also, even if there's a small nail cutter, we know that it is coming from somewhere. No one can say that, oh, this thing had no origin, it just came about by itself. No, that's illogical, that's foolish. Something as simple as a screwdriver also needs someone to make it. So intelligence is always there behind all activities. So naturally, when we are talking about a superior system like the universes, like this solar system, planets, universes, there must be some intelligence behind it. So theoretically, at least we can accept that there is a supreme absolute truth, which is beyond all the relative truths of this world. So Brahmaji actually explains this. He says, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. Sarva Karana Karanam, cause of all causes, the absolute truth. So Lord Brahma says, Ishvara Parama Krishna. So this superior personality, this superior intelligence from which everything is emanating has a personality and a name. And the name is Krishna. That Lord Brahma himself is explaining. Krishna also explains something similar about himself in his own discourse of Bhagavad Gita. Mattah parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya. Mai sarvamidam protam sutre mani gana eva. That, oh conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Now, this is very important. Mattah parataram nanyat. That there is nothing superior to me. And sutre mani gana eva. So just like everything, like a, uh, like in a when you call us, what do these ladies wear around their necks? When you wear a necklace, there is always a thread around which the whole necklace is created. There is a thread underlying even the biggest of necklaces, like someone probably a Queen of England would wear or something, would still have a thread holding everything together. So the whole material creation, material, spiritual, all the creation is held together by the absolute truth, and that absolute truth is Krishna. Because Krishna himself is declaring it in the Bhagavad Gita. Paratattva. He is the Paratattva. Yes, Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments here? Then we can continue maybe. Next paragraph. Yes, please.
May I read,
Hare
Prabhuji?
Krishna, Prabhu.
Oh, go ahead, Ji. Sorry.
Yeah. Any devotee wants to continue?
I can,
Yeah.
I can.
Uncircumambulous.
Okay, continue, Ji.
Yes, Prabhuji, I am ready. Uncircumambulous person go immediately to the 10th canto, and especially to the 5th chapter, which describe the Lord's rasa dance. The portion of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the most confident part of the great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to misunderstand the Lord's worshipable transcendental pastime called rasa dance and his love affairs with the gopis. The subject matter is highly spiritual, and only the liberated person who have gradually attained to the stage of Parama Ahimsa can transitory release the rasa dance. Srila Vedvyas therefore gives the reader the chance of gradually develop spiritual realization before actually realizing the essence of the pastime of the Lord. Therefore, he purposely invoked a Gayatri mantra, Dhimahi. The Gayatri mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. When one is successfully in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahmical qualities or be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully and then attain the stage of transcendental realizing the Lord, His name, His fame, His qualities, and so on. आगे
This
पढ़ो
paragraph
प्रभु जी.
also पढ़ो. हाँ, आगे पढ़ लीजिए.
Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of Swarupa of the Lord manifested by his internal potency and his
this potency.
एक मिनट. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Narration Swarup by the Lord immediately by his internal potency, and his potency is distinguished from the external potency which has manifested the cosmic world which is within our experience. Srila Vyasa Veda makes a clear distinction between the two in this sloka. Sri Vyasadeva says herein that the manifested internal potency is real, whereas the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusory, like the mirage in the desert. In the desert mirage, there is no actual water. There is only the appearance of water. Real order is somewhere else. The manifested cosmic creation appear as reality, but reality of which this is but a shadow. In this spiritual world, absolute truth is in the spiritual sky, not the material sky. In the material sky, everything is relative truth. That is to say, one truth depends on something else. This cosmic creation result from incarnation of the three modes of nature, and the temporary manifestation are so created as to present an illusion or reality to the bewildered mind of the conditional soul, who appears in so many species of the life, including the higher demigod like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and so on. In actually, there is no reality in the manifested world. Their appearance to be reality, however, because of the true reality which exists in the spiritual world, where the personality of Godhead externally exists with his transcendental permihilia. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hmm. Unscrupulous persons go immediately to the 10th canto and especially to the 5 chapters which describe the Lord's rasa dance. This portion of the Srimad Bhagavatam is most confidential part of this great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to misunderstand Lord's worshipable transcendental pastimes called rasa dance and his love affairs with the gopis. So, see, this is Srila Prabhupada is bringing up this point straight away, that one cannot really understand the Lord's activities and pastimes. Just a few days ago, I mean, it was the Christmas time and people were discussing naturally about Christmas. So, whenever any religious discussion starts, immediately atheistic people also have to jump into it. Like, for example, in the Christian world, there's a huge debate between the virgin birth of Jesus Christ or what is the position of the prophets of Christianity and other things. So, the thing is, unless one is qualified, one cannot really understand this subject matter. Like, for example, if you want to understand how electronics works, you cannot really be a high school graduate and try to understand it because your knowledge doesn't have sufficient base. Your knowledge is not sufficiently advanced. You will make mistakes. If you have studied biology in high school, you cannot understand the work of a heart surgeon. You may see something that, okay, he's doing something, but you will not understand how it is being done. It may look like that, it may appear that you know something, but your knowledge is not at all sufficient. So before we jump to the pastimes of the Lord, understanding the Lord is most important. 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are dedicated to understanding what is Krishna. Not who is Krishna, but what is Krishna's position. Then we can understand in the 10th cantos, gradually, what is Krishna's position, what were his activities. So Krishna's position is so great. Actually, when we go to the 2nd canto, it will appear almost impossible to understand the Lord. And that's the truth. Actually, this subject matter is very, very difficult to understand. So, so Vyasadeva wants to give this understanding. Vyasadeva wants people to understand Krishna. He knows that it is practically impossible. In the 10th canto, it is already mentioned. I mean, 11th or 12th canto. That people in this age are dull and unfortunate. So, how do we make dull and unfortunate people fortunate? By giving them the chance to understand, by simplifying the knowledge. So, in the Vedic system, in the Sanatan system, there is a ceremony called Upanayan ceremony, by which we initiate a person into spiritual knowledge. So, that's called the Diksha Sanskar. So, this Diksha Sanskar involves the giving of Gayatri mantra. Gayatri introduces one to the Supreme. So, Srila Vyasadeva introduces the Srimad Bhagavatam itself with the Gayatri. Therefore, he purposely invokes a Gayatri mantra, Dhimahi. This Gayatri mantra is meant for the spiritually advanced people. When one is successful in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahmanical qualities or be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully. So you see, one has to be established. Krishna himself says in the Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. So that's the condition. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So what is the symptom of someone who can understand Krishna? Prasannatma. He's a very happy soul. Na shochati na kankshati. He's neither lamenting anything nor he desires anything. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu. He's equanimous in all conditions. What are those conditions? Uh, Heat and cold, happiness and distress. So, in all conditions, if one is equanimous, one is not disturbed, then one is understood to be situated in Brahman. To attain Brahman, one has to tolerate all of this. Yamhina vivathante te purusham purusharshava. Sam dukha sukham dhiram so amritatvaya kalpate. So one has to be equanimously situated. One has to practice first. One has to practice this tolerance. And by practicing tolerance, when one becomes actually equanimous, when one becomes totally detached, then one can actually start devotional service to the Lord. So therefore, to facilitate that equanimity, Srila Vyasadeva introduces the Gayatri Mantra right up in the beginning. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the narration of the Swarup of Lords manifested by his internal potency. And this potency is distinguishable from external potency which has manifested the cosmic world. So here a very important point is mentioned. So here, Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Amrisha. So just like appearance of fire in water and water in fire. This is the translation which Srila Prabhupada is giving here. Through him this world like a mirage appears real even to great sages and demigods. So how do we understand this? What is the mirage part here? If I jump into a river, I will drown. That is very much real. If I jump into a burning building, I will burn. That is also real. So what is the mirage we are talking about? This concept of I am the body. This fear we feel in this body. This is the mirage that Krishna has created. So actually there is Krishna and his energy. There is Radha and Krishna. So what are other manifestations then? What is this external potency we are talking about? So Krishna's internal potency is Samvit Sandhini Ladini. External potency is Maya, Mahamaya. So Yoga Maya, Mahamaya are one and the same actually, depending upon the perspective of the living entity. The living entity who wants to associate with Krishna only, for him this energy is manifested as Yoga Maya, and for one who wants to be separate from Krishna, the same potency becomes Mahamaya and immediately covers him over. Then the living entity cannot understand. Great sages like Jaimini, Kanad, Agastya, and all, they cannot understand the Supreme even when they see him. This is the potency of Maya. One may understand all the scriptures and still not be admitted to knowing Krishna. So, just like in the desert, there is a mirage. Those of you who have driven on very hot highways, you might have noticed that half a kilometer, 1 kilometer down the road actually it's completely like wet or drowning in water. But actually, that's just hot air, which creates this kind of an illusion that there is water. Or sometimes when the sun is setting, the whole horizon, like if you're next to a lake or a river or the sea, the whole water appears to be burning red. But the water is cold, it is wet, but it appears to be burning. And that's also another type of mirage. Reflection of sun's rays create this mirage. So, but it appears very real. Like if you try to look at a burning hot road, you will not see the road. You will only see this watery reflection. So even if you know logically that it is not water, it still appears to be water only. You cannot see below it. So that is the strength of the illusion created by Lord's Maya. So great personalities like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, etc. are also deluded by the same potency. But it is not considered reality, like Adi Shankara says, Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. He says Jagan Mithya. So Mithya is not the existence of this world. Mithya is the understanding that I belong to this world and that this world is mine. So that is the illusion of this material world. And this illusion is what we try to fight by understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. So long as we are in this illusory condition, so long as we are under the spell of this illusion, we cannot understand the pastimes of the Lord. So if you see, for example, the commentaries of Western speakers on Bhagavad Gita, you will find that this is impossible. How can Arjun kill 10,000 warriors with one arrow? Well, it is possible, it has happened. But because you are incapable of understanding it, doesn't mean that it didn't happen. We can see, even in this material world, the miraculous potency of the Supreme Lord. Life itself is so miraculous. You see a tiny insect, a small cockroach, it lays an egg, and from that egg, a small cockroach comes out. Perfect. With all knowledge, also. There's this, if you know about turtles, turtles are born in sand. The mother turtle crawls all the way up from sea and lays the eggs in the sand, and then she runs away. And she doesn't come back again. She's not hatching those eggs. She's just sitting in the water, she's meditating on those eggs. And in due course of time, the eggs hatch. And the baby turtles immediately know to run towards the sea. Where does this knowledge come from? Where is this intelligence coming from? So this scientists cannot really explain. Scientists cannot really explain. How does the bird know where to find food exactly? Nature is balanced in itself. But this balance of nature is not some accident, it is not some coincidence. It is happening by a will which is beyond our understanding. So before we can get that understanding, we should not try to understand the activities of the Lord, because activities of the Lord are really nothing short of a miracle. So, like we discussed in the previous session also, that the objective of this first few cantos is to give us an understanding of the superior nature of the Lord, so that we can develop a healthy respect for him. And then gradually, as we progress to understand his merciful activities and interactions with the devotees, we will develop proper mood of devotional service or Shuddha Bhakti. So in this way, if one very scrutinizingly goes through Srimad Bhagavatam from first canto through to the 12th, one will become a pure devotee of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Okay, then maybe we can take one more paragraph. Would Samyan Prabhu like to read this, the chief engineer?
मैं read करता हूँ.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Samyan Prabhu.
The chief engineer of a complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction, but he knows every
Nook and corner.
Every nook and corner, because everything is done under his direction. He knows everything about the construction, both directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of the cosmic creation, knows every nook and corner, although affairs are being carried out by demigods. Beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no one is independent in the material creation. The hand of the Lord is seen everywhere. All material elements as well as spiritual sparks emanate from him only, and whatever is created in this material world is but the interaction of two energies, the material and the spiritual, which emanate from the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. A chemist can manufacture water in the chemical laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen, but in reality the living entity works in the laboratory under the direction of Supreme Lord, and the materials with which he works are also supplied by the Lord. The Lord knows everything directly and indirectly, and he is cognizant of all minute details, and he is fully independent. He is compared to a mine of gold, and the cosmic creations in so many different forms are compared to objects made from the gold, such as gold rings, necklaces, and so on. The gold ring and the gold necklace are qualitatively one with the gold in the mine, but quantitatively the gold in the mine is different. Therefore, the absolute truth is simultaneously one and different. Nothing is absolutely equal with the absolute truth, but at the same time, nothing is independent of the absolute truth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You can continue with the next paragraph also. That's a short one.
Conditioned souls beginning from Brahma, who engineers the entire universe down to the insignificant ant, are all creating, but none of them is independent of the Supreme Lord. The materialist wrongly thinks that there is no creator other than his own self. This is called Maya or illusion. Because of his poor fund of knowledge, the materialist cannot see beyond the purview of his imperfect senses, and thus he thinks that matter automatically takes its own shape without the aid of a superior intelligence. This is refuted in the shloka by Srila Vyasadeva. Since the complete whole or the absolute truth is the source of everything, nothing can be independent of the body of the absolute truth. Whatever happens to the body quickly becomes known to the embodied. Similarly, the creation is the body of the absolute whole. Therefore, the absolute knows everything directly and indirectly that happens in the creation.
So that's a very beautiful paragraph, actually, these two paragraphs. The chief engineer of a complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction, but he knows every nook and corner because everything is done under his direction. See, everything is emanating from Krishna. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter itself, it is said, no, 18th chapter, Krishna is concluding the teachings of Bhagavad Gita with this verse, like one of the like concluding verses. Krishna is saying, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati. Brahman sarva bhutani yantra arudhani mayaya. That the Supreme is seated in the heart of every living entity. So Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. He's actually the Supreme Lord is within every living entity, situated in the region of heart. Brahman Sarva Bhutani. Yantra Arudhani Maya. And he's directing the wanderings of all living entities, seated on the bodies, on machines made out of matter. Brahman Sarva Bhutani Yantra Arudhani Maya. On the bodies which are like material, machines made out of matter. So we can see, for example, this whole solar system. There are planets, 9 planets, then there is sun, and then there are living entities. The planets are running here and there. The living entities within the planets are wandering here and there. All of them. Ahara Nidra Bhai Maithun. Whether it's a demigod or it's a demon or an insect or a tree, everything. Ahara Nidra Bhai Maithun. Everyone is just eager for that. So, but what is directing all this? That's the Supreme Lord. Like, for example, if you go to a very big junction, like, if you are in Europe, for example, Frankfurt Junction is very big. Or if you go to India, there is Mughal Sarai Junction, hundreds of tracks. Many trains are coming, hundreds of trains are coming and going. And one may find it very chaotic, when you see what is happening. But for someone who knows, you'll understand, okay, there's a station master, there's a logic he has created, and trains are just following that. There is no chaos. Everything is choreographed. Everything is very well planned out. So nothing is happening randomly. So many trains are coming and going, but none are colliding because everything is completely planned and programmed. So like that, so many, uncountable number of planets are, moving around in the universe, and they're not colliding. We don't see any explosions in the sky. Everything is so neatly balanced. So if any of you have studied high school physics, you know the concept of gravitational pull, centripetal, centrifugal forces. Scientists like Einstein, they died trying to understand it and still could not actually fully understand what it was. So you can imagine how complicated it is just to understand from a high school language perspective, like, what even a high schooler knows. Like, according to the modern theory of physics, the gravitational pull of the sun is pulling the planets, but the forward momentum of the planets carries them in the space. So there is a centripetal force. So this centripetal force counteracts the centrifugal force, and then the planets are in a balanced orbit. So planets are like constantly moving in very clear space. But there are innumerable planets. All planets are pulling each other with their gravitational forces. And yet they are pulling in such a manner that all the planets are balanced around their orbits. So how is that even possible without intelligence? That is the intelligence of the Lord. And within these planets, there are innumerable living entities who know precisely where to find their food. You know, if you see a mosquito, it is intelligent enough to know how to get inside the window and bite you. So this is the intelligence of the Supreme Lord. This is how intelligent the Supreme is. Now, now the difference between an engineer and the Supreme Lord is still more elaborate. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. So the Lord is complete whole, everything is emanating from Him. So let's, for example, take the creation of a living entity, of a human being, or any living entity. What is the body of the living entity? Some carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, iron, and so many other minerals. What are these compounds? These are coming from the 5 primary elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Now, these elements are coming from Mahatattva. Mahatattva is emanating from the body of Mahavishnu. So, Mahatattva gets agitated by the presence of the living entity. When Brahman penetrates this Mahatattva, so when Mahavishnu glances over this Mahatattva, it becomes agitated. You know, like we blow air into some hot milk or something, then we can see the waves, some agitation. So when the Lord simply glances over this Mahatattva is agitated and impregnated by Brahman. These living entities, the eternal parcels of the Lord, they impregnate this Brahman. And then the Brahman kind of curdles and becomes Mahatattva curdles and sorts of and becomes Pradhan. And then this Pradhan coagulates. And we have the creation of these planets and the living entities. Now, within this coagulated bodies also, there are subtler material elements. For example, there is a gross elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and there are subtle elements of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So this mind, intelligence, false ego activates the body, and the living entity becomes seated within it. And then this machine called the body starts working, and the living entity thinks that he is the doer. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. So 3 modes of nature are acting, but the living entity thinks that he is acting. So no one is separate from the Lord. The body itself belongs to the Lord, and within this body, there is the soul which is connected to the body via mind, intelligence, false ego. But those subtle elements are also coming from the Supreme Lord. And the living entity, Mameva Ansha Jivaloke, Jiva Bhoot Sanatana. The living entity himself is a fragmental portion of the Lord's consciousness. So, in this way, the whole universe and the whole creation is integral to the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Pranam. So, there's a query in the previous paragraphs about this Gayatri mantra which is mentioned. And does it mean whenever this word Dhimahi is present in a verse, so that is actually Gayatri? What are the verses which will be classified under Gayatri mantra? Because here it is said
Dhimahi.
that,
So Dhimahi means I meditate.
Correct.
So what do we do? What do we have? We have Kama Gayatri. So what is Gayatri? You are meditating on the specific aspect of the Lord. That is called Gayatri. So meditation, this word Dhimahi indicates a Gayatri.
Okay. So my question is, in any of the verses where the word Dhimahi comes, are they classified under Gayatri mantras?
Yeah, these are classified
because
as
there are
Gayatris.
many Gayatri mantras. That's what I'm understanding. And,
yeah, there are many.
And
this is actually the Upanayana Sanskar.
Yeah, and some of them are like they cannot be recited in public. And here Vyasdev is for the benefit of all the people who would like to read Srimad Bhagavatam and relish. I suppose Vyasdev out of the way is making this provision so that they can hear and read this verse and then enter into the realms of the spiritual world.
Yes. So you see how serious is Srimad Bhagavatam. So just like, we take the example of Srila Ramanujacharya. So he was given the Narayana mantra, but he went and broadcast it in the public. So that Narayana mantra is also supposed to be like, confidential. This was the initiation of Ramanujacharya by Yamunacharya. That, okay, this is confidential, don't broadcast it. But he broadcast it. So that's how Vyasadeva also is broadcasting Gayatri here. That please, if you are serious, please read this. Now you are, this Bhagavatam is being invoked. So please take it seriously and try to perfect your life.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Actually,
so please, take Bhagavatam very seriously.
so our acharyas are so benevolent. They have made something which is actually for a really pure souls. Something which has to be for really pure souls. They have made it available for the masses actually. It just we
Yes.
had to just to be sincere and take that effort, and on daily basis or as much as possible we should devote time and thought to reading and understanding it sincerely. That's why
Yes.
that's why it was not open to everybody anyway.
Yeah, and that's why it's important that, Bhagavatam be discussed very seriously. So Bhagavatam should be discussed in the company of devotees, and it should be a very serious discussion. Right. So thank you very much, everyone. If you have any questions or something, please feel free to, put it in the groups and we will discuss it also. But Bhagavatam, please study very well, because without doing homework studies, it will become very difficult to understand. Because what we are studying here will be building up towards the second canto and third canto. So if this is not understood clearly, then that will become difficult. Because we are going to study almost 30 books here. So it's going to be very deep. And we are just through the first verse. We have around 12,000 more verses to go. And you can see how deep Srimad Bhagavatam actually goes. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Jai
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
all the
Dandavat
devotees.
pranam.
Hare
Thank you, ji.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Dandavat
Dandavat
Pranam ji.
Pranam ji.
Dandavat